I would like to welcome everyone and thank you the conference committee for all the hard work and putting on such a good conference. My name is Thanh. I am an MBA student at National Kamoy University in Taiwan. My correspondent author is Dr. John Baker. Now let me share with you our PowerPoint. Our title paper is on explorations of the marketability of recycled PET bottle for use in the clothing industry in an emerging economy. Let me begin by describing the abstract. This study explored purchase intention related to post-consumer recycled bottle for use in the clothing industry in an emerging economy. To investigate this, Calvo Potter and Levy Martins in 2020 survey purchase intention POS-SEM model was adopted to investigate its applicability for use in an emerging economy. A model previously used to explore consumer purchase intention of recycled-based clothing in developed economies. To explore this model applicability, residents in Vietnam were surveyed via several SMPs like Facebook, Zalo, HelloTalk, Instagram. Using POS-SEM per analysis, it was found that three factors significantly affect purchase intention, albeit not the same organization of factors found to be significant in Calvo, Potter, and Levy Martins model. Thus, the model is rejected, and the current model is suggested for use in emerging economies such as Vietnam. As prior research of consumer purchase intention of clothing made from recycled PET bottle fibers in an emerging economy is limited, the result of this study provide practical guidance and marketers and a further point for future investigation and discussions. The paper also discusses the topic and result relevancy to other contexts and poses suggestions for further study. Now we talk about the introductions. Since the 1980s, consumers have shown an increased concern for the environment. However, it was not until the 1990s that recycling clothing were considered to be environmentally expedient. As a result of increased public awareness, the subject of recycled clothing has been interpreted in many ways: donating to charity, give to family and friends, selling to secondhand shops, or retooling them into household items. Later eco-friendly attempts included recycling the fibers for use in home. More recent attempts have been to event that a study in 2004 had termed sustainable design movement, described deconstructing the clothing and then redesigning the material into new clothing. This was prompted in part because, as you know, PET bottle pose a major threat to the environment, making up a large part of our household waste, pollute landfills, waterways, and oceans, right? PET bottle reuse has also been supported because recycling them reduces the carbon footprint energies needed to produce textile. For example, using 1 kilo of PET bottle keeps 60 bottles from polluting the environment, about the amount needed to produce one jacket. And using recycled PET bottles uses fractions of the water needed to make new clothing, 90% less, a concern in cotton-producing nations that are experiencing water shortage. Following the enthusiasm for PET bottles use, the first PET textile application was begun by Armani for denim jeans. In 1995, Levi's Straw, Timberland, Adidas, Spirit, Patagonia had also invented product recycled PET plastic bottle, and other major manufacturers have since followed suit. Now we talk about research objective. This proposal of study is to explore the market potential, consumer purchase intention related to using recycled PET bottle in an emerging economy textile clothing industry. To explore this gap, the study looks to the usability of motor poles that used in developed economy. Specifically, it investigates the applicability, such as like can the study be reproduced and all the results relevant to other contexts. Specifically, Calvo Potter and Levy emerging in 2020 study purchase intention model for developed economies in the context of the study and emerging economy. Now we talk about the methodologies. The hypotheses were adapted from Calvo Potter and Levy emerging in 2020 model used in a developed country to explore consumer purchase intention toward recycled garments made from recycled plastic in the developed economy. These hypotheses, in the sense of relocations and extending their model to text generalizability, have been adapted to explore whether their model can be extended for use in the emerging economic context chosen for this study, Vietnam. The hypotheses are as follows. Number 1, quality of recycled products, hypothesis H1. Number 2, image of recycled product, hypothesis 2, H2. Number 3, sustainability for recycled product, hypothesis 3, H3. Safety of recycled products, hypothesis 4, H4. Okay. The translation was checked by 2 native speaker Vietnamese and then piloted with a number of respondents to explore any ambiguities in the survey instrument. Distribution of the questionnaire. The questionnaire was then sent via several SMPs like Zello, Facebook, HelloTalk, Instagram, Twitter to networkers in the researchers' online social network and groups. Networkers were then asked to share the link with other networkers in their circle. Respondents self-administered the questionnaires. Using SMP as a technique for survey distribution and data collection is useful when respondents are difficult to identify or contact and the survey need to be conducted expediently. By responses, a total of 495 responses were received. 473 respondents provided usable data. The sample size exceeded the recommended sample size suggested for their model. The respondent consisted of 343 female, 117 male, 7 who identify as other, and 6 who prefer not to disclose gender. About finding, the findings support 3 of the proposed hypotheses. The results indicate that H2 image, H3 sustainability, and H4 safety are supported. Specifically, it was found that consumers had the highest concern for sustainability, followed by image, then safety. Table 1 shows the coefficients of the relationship between consumer purchase intention, corresponding t-value, and the level of significance. This finding contrasted those of Calvo Potter and Levy Mangin, who found that the better product image were not supported. Therefore, it can be concluded that Calvo Potter and Levy merging in 2020's model developed for developed economy may not be relevant for an emerging economy like Vietnam. Instead, other factors posed in the model presented here may be considered. About the conclusions, this study provided several contributions. First is advanced purchase intention literature, especially with regard to eco-friendly apparel made from recycled PET bottle in emerging economies. Specifically, it demonstrates that purchase intention in emerging economies may not be congruent with that developing countries. It also provides practical guidance for clothing producers and marketing specialists in the identification of how to better support future expansion of the market for recycled post-consumer PET bottle in the textile clothing industry. About limitation and suggestion for future study. First, the study is context-specific in its exploration of purchase intention in Vietnam, and there is why it extends generalizability to this context. Further work still need to be done. Further study need to be undertaken both in the larger context of emerging economies as well as in specific regions of Vietnam, as it is a diverse society with instant socio-economic regions. Second, the study has several empirical constraints. The number of respondents were medium in number, total 473, and under POS is well suited to small sample. A larger sample more suited to a country the size of Vietnam could have been more representative and potentially produce different results. In line with this, while the social demographic makeup of the participant was indicated by their responses rather than any purposeful intent of sampling produced. Due to the limitations of the sample size, all the factors that were originally intended to be examined and studied in the model were left unexplored. The respondents were, for instance, largely from urban areas, leaving too small a sample to perform an assessment as to whether there was a mitigating factor. Similarly, gender was unequally weighted, with the majority of the respondents being female, 73%. It is suggested that future study also take this into account. Thank you very much for attending. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you.